If you build it, they will come. Yeah, right. Fellow coders, if you're full of amazing ideas and have created amazing products but can't seem to get them off the ground, welcome. This is the Coder Startup, the show where smart programmers come to learn what it really takes to create, market, and sell a brand new product, and most of all, make it profitable. Now here's your host, successful software entrepreneur, Trevor Page.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to, which is episode number 7 of this humble podcast, the Coder Startup. Welcome. Thanks for listening in. And as always, I'm joined by my right-hand man, Carter Johnson. What's going on, buddy?
What's happening, Trevor?
What a guan. So today, I think, as we hinted in the last episode, that we are going to be focusing on the topic of SEO today. And that's something that we've just briefly touched on in a past episode, but I want to really dive into it because it's definitely something that, as a starting entrepreneur, as a person who was early in his career, I was very into SEO and very into the benefits of it. So SEO stands for Search Engine Optimization, and its main focus is to get you ranked on Google. Before I jump into Carter, who's the master of SEO, I want to tell a quick story just to sort of set the experience that you're about to receive. Anyway, my uncle had called me up, and he was living in, I think he's in Texas, and he wanted to get some information about a business opportunity that he was sort of starting up, a venture, if you will. And he calls me up and he's like, "Hey, Trevor, I'm having troubles here with this whole Google thing. You know, I just created my web page and I put it up and it's live on the internet, but I'm not showing as first in Google. Can you help me out?" And I said, "Oh, okay, Kevin. So when did you launch this website? Like, did you just buy it, or have you had it for years, or what's the situation?" He's like, "Yeah, I just bought it yesterday, and I put it up live yesterday. So why am I not, first in Google?" And it's funny because that was probably my perception of search engines back when I first started. It's, I just want to be first so that, because I'm important, clearly. I think I'm important, so you must think I'm important, so Google should think I'm important. Why am I not appearing first on Google? The reality, the harsh reality of the situation is that you are not special. So my uncle was not special, I'm not special, Carter's not special, unless
You're so harsh, Trevor.
I know.
Everyone's special. I'm of the other view. We're all special. We all need to be on the front page of Google.
So yes, the lesson here is that if you truly are special, you need to prove it to Google. And there are many, many ways to prove to Google that you're special and that you are worthy of showing up first when someone types something into Google that, relates to what it is that you have to offer on the interwebs. And that, my friends, is called and known as SEO, Search Engine Optimization. So with that short little intro with a story, let me flip it over to Carter. And what can you tell us about SEO and your exploits in it?
So I think, as we talked a little bit before the show started, we're going to have to try to 80-20 this and really give the most value for the time we have, because literally, I'm sure podcasts out there, I follow a few that are solely based around SEO. It's that much of a behemoth, if you will. There's just so much that goes into it. So I think today we'll focus more on the do's and don'ts, just a basic intro, and kind of give you some things just to focus on that will really get you started in the right direction and get things turning in that way. How's that sound?
Yeah, man, it sounds good. I suppose it's also good to preface this. I don't know if you're going to say this or not, but I want to say this up front. The rules and the laws and what's working and what's not working inside of SEO is a very fickle thing. It's very usually fast changing. So, for example, I used to listen to in the Smart Passive Income podcast. I shouldn't say used to. I do listen to it, but there are some past episodes where Pat Flynn, who's the host of that podcast, talked a lot about SEO. But everything you go back and listen to that he talks about now is pretty much irrelevant and might even get you penalized if you follow some of the rules and some of the things that he suggests. So take everything that we're saying with a grain of salt. Hopefully we can approach this episode with a best practices mentality that will, these things will hold true for the lifetime of SEO. But obviously we'll sprinkle in hopefully some tactics that are working right now that you can try out. So just wanted to preface it with that.
Yeah, and you hit on a great point, and that's something that I tell all of my clients. SEO is a game that, is just tons of money being spent on a daily basis trying to basically improve rankings, figure out what is the latest algorithm that Google is favoring, how they're going about deciding who is occupying that page one. And the reason is obviously because once you're on page one, you're going to see a huge boost in traffic. It's just insane. Businesses live and die based on SEO. So it's also one of those things I'd emphasize that it shouldn't be your sole strategy by any means as far as getting visitors there. So today, let's talk a little bit about some of the low-hanging fruit things that you can do. Let's talk about a strategy that I am really big on for the long run. And then let's just talk about some of the things that you should stay away from. So first up, whatever site you have, obviously you know about social networks and that sort of thing. And Google has repeatedly said, social signals and those sorts of things are becoming more of a major factor in the actual rankings. So one thing you want to do, really easy to do, is make sure when you do start your business, when you do start your brand, to go ahead and set up social profiles across the major social networks. So I typically, of course, like to cover Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. If you want to go above and beyond, you should also, go ahead and register Google Plus as well as Pinterest. Instagram is very big right now. Those are the ones that you definitely want to cover. And I say if you want to go above and beyond, no, just cover them. It takes 10 minutes of effort and it'll help you out a ton. When you set up these social profiles, one of the things Google is looking for is basically that you're interlinking these. So you're showing, hey, you're a brand, you're interacting on these multiple fronts. And by listing, like in your Google Plus profile, a link to your Facebook, your Twitter, all of those things, that's going to go a really, really long ways in just showing Google, hey, this is a legitimate business. They're active. They're doing great things.
And do you know where you can put those links in? Is there an easy way to do that?
I typically put them in the descriptions and stuff. A lot of, if you go a few layers deep on a lot of the social profiles, you'll find places where you can list like your website and other type things like that. And that's where I put them.
So like your about profile in Facebook type of thing, or
exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep. So that's a really easy thing that you can do. And again, that's going to show Google, hey, you're not some spammer or anything like that. You're a legitimate business, and you're trying to interact with your user base. The next thing that you can do, it's a white hat technique, and if you're not familiar.
Pause.
Yeah.
Before we get into white hat, black hat, let's define that first, because I know when I was listening to these things, they kept talking about white hat, black hat, like gray hat, like what is this hat? So just briefly describe what the difference is between the two, then you can keep going with your white hat stuff.
Yeah. So in the world of SEO, there are things that Google says, yay, go out and do this. And then there are other things they say, don't do this. We don't like it. But people still do it because black hat stuff can get you results. And I love, this is one thing that I think is, I don't know why, but it gets me to chuckle so much. And I stay away from most black hat things, but there are people out there who immediately they hear the term black hat and they freeze and they're like, oh, you're drowning puppies, or you know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh, you can't do that. And then you ask them what is a black hat technique, and they have absolutely no idea. So I try to enter any conversation with an open mind, and there are some things out there that I'm like, that's just not something that I would want to do. But then there are other things that when you get in the conversation, you're like, wait, why? What's wrong with that? So we're just going to talk about white hat stuff for now.
So black hat, I would assume from your talk there, I would assume that black hat techniques are things that are bad, that Google views as bad, and that you could potentially be penalized on. Whereas white hat techniques are the things that you are globally accepted as being okay, and whatnot, but they might not get you the quick results that black hat techniques could. Is that a good way to define it?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
I guess that's a good way. I mean, there's certain things that people consider black hat that are this is a tough
It's tough.
one
It's
dive
tough to
into.
define, yeah.
Yeah, that people are like, oh, that's crazy black hat stuff, and then I guess there's the gray hat stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of in between. It's a murky water. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, murky water where you're like, okay.
So really I suppose the point that I wanted to get at here is there's some things that you can do that are globally accepted as perfectly fine. There's some things that you can do that are globally accepted as very, very bad, very malicious, very risky, but high reward. And then there's some stuff in between. So I guess as we go through these techniques, we can sort of preface it with, what type of technique is this, and what's the risk level for you to use this technique. I guess that's the best thing that we can do for you guys. So that you're well educated going forward. So you were talking about a white hat technique.
The next thing we're going to talk about is citation and directory creation. So this is again this is a white hat type thing where you go out and basically you find places where you can list your business and information about that. And what you're doing here is you're actually building links back to your website, which is a way to help with your rankings. But it's something that Google has said, yes, like, we want businesses to be listed in multiple directories. We want your business to have a profile on Yelp or Angie's List or Routers or ThomasNet, all those different places. So a way to do this is I typically we'll do a real simple version. You can simply search in Google whatever industry you're in. So let's say you're in dog grooming. You could say dog grooming. You could search dog grooming directories, and you'll probably find a list of directories, either active or non-active, that you can basically list your business in. And that's going to tell Google and all its little spiders and robots and whatever that when it comes across your profile in there, it's going to say, hey, this is a dog grooming company. It's linking to its site. And so it's going to help your relevancy in terms of your site. So definitely do that for your industry as well as if you're a local business. So if you're, I know we're talking to a lot of programmers and stuff, but if you do have a local business and let's say you do app development for a certain territory, maybe you're focusing on the New York City market, find those citations, find those directories that feature local businesses in the New York area and list there. So Better Business Bureau, Chambers of Commerce, things like that, Yellow Pages, all that sorts of stuff. And let's do this. Trevor, can you put in the show notes, and I'll make sure I put together a list of just some common directories that people can list their businesses in and really just get the ball rolling on this.
Sure thing. Making the note now.
Awesome. And so, one thing that you can really do to help inside these directories and citation sources is make them really rich with content. Put your website, again, put your social profiles, links to those, create images. If you have a logo, upload it. Showcase that you're a real legitimate business that has its doors open and is welcoming. I always encourage people to create profiles that give a brief history and really dive into what your specialty is. And that's just a great way not only to get good quality backlinks, but also to pick up some customers organically. There's a lot of people who who monitor those citations and directories and really turn to those as a business reference.
Yeah, man, it's like a double whammy. So that's awesome. That's a great tip. Now, one thing that you said that people, again, may not be aware of, just as I wasn't really aware of, you've been saying the word backlink a lot. Can we talk about what a backlink is and get into that?
Totally. That's a good point. God, Trevor, you're so good at picking up on things too.
Aren't I? I'm the smartest man alive.
You're the smartest man alive. Yeah. So a backlink is when another website is actually linking to your website. And when you hear me refer to anchor text is basically what they're using to link. So if you're a dog grooming site again, they might hyperlink with dog grooming Cincinnati, and that would be the anchor text they use to link to your website. So does that define those terms?
Yeah, that's pretty good. So okay. in programming terms, the anchor text, when you define, if you're familiar with HTML, if you define your anchor tag, your ahref, everything that appears inside of that HTML tag is going to be your anchor text. So just like Carter said, if you have, let's say for some miracle reason, CNN.com publishes a story about you on their front page, and on CNN.com there's a link that points back to your page, maybe talking about you as a programmer who offers services in the New York area. There could be a link on CNN.com pointing to your website. That would be incredible for your SEO juice, if you will. That will give you big rankings and lots of authority. But I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. That's just an example of what a backlink is. So anyway, Carter, you can take it from there and keep going with your train of thought.
Yeah. So that's pretty much it for citations and directories. That's a really good, solid strategy you can use to get some backlinks, get some organic clients, and really just let Google know that you're open for shop. The next thing I want to move into, and this is something that I am doing for all my clients, and I think is the real long-term play, and I'm going to explain why. Google is constantly on the warpath to destroy any SEO tactics that people are trying to execute that manipulates the rankings. I mean, they're doing that to preserve the quality of the search engines. Like, completely makes sense,
So what they're trying to do is they're trying to kick down or break down, what's the word I'm looking for? They're trying to knock down the websites that are essentially poor quality. So a website that's poor quality would be like a tiny little website, like one-page website with a giant button that says, buy me now or something like that, and for some reason that website is ranking as number one for a particular search term. So let's say you're trying to make money selling let's say dog grooming services, and your webpage selling dog grooming services, which just literally says dog grooming services here, buy now, and that's all it does. And it says for some reason that's appearing first in the Google search directory when you type in dog grooming. That would be an example of someone who's probably hacking the system, gaming the system in a black hat way, and they're tricking Google into making Google think that they are more important than they actually are. So that, I think that's would be a good way to define that particular situation.
Yeah. So Google just has their eyes set, like any business should, on basically preserving the quality of their product and service, and making the whole experience for you as a customer when you actually Google things the best possible that it can be. So with that in mind, Matt Cutts, who's, I think his official title is like head of search or something for Google.
Sexy.
What's that?
I said that's sexy.
That's sexy.
Yeah, for us programmers, head of search. Ooh.
So he is, I guess, the god of the search engine world, if you will, because he is kind of the leading force on deciding what goes in and what comes out as in terms of actually ranking sites. And one thing I remember reading him saying a while ago, and it made perfect. It didn't make that much sense to me at the time, but now I'm like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, totally. He said, it was at some talk, and he was saying basically, he was like, if people focused on producing good content as much as they try to figure out and game the system, they would achieve just as good, if not better, rankings. And I remember, the first time I heard that, I was like, yeah, whatever. And it's funny though, because I spend a lot of times on forums and watching videos and talking to other people, and they're like, this is working, that's working, blah blah blah. And there's so much energy and effort that goes into just how can we manipulate the rankings. And really, all you got to do is put together some amazing, awesome content and put it out there. And we've talked about that a lot in past episodes. And I'm sure there's some people listening who are really good at SEO who are like, this guy's an idiot for suggesting that. But I mean, seriously, you put together amazing content and then you really systemize how you get it out there, how you distribute it with all the social networkings, the social bookmarking, just the different platforms like slideshows and doc shares and podcasts that you can host this information on, and you're going to get a lot of traffic.
And now I can pause you there. I keep cutting in. I'm sorry, but I have so much that I want to add to this conversation. I absolutely am a believer in producing quality content and putting it out there. So the cheesy terminology, the cheesy terms that I've heard out there is that content is king and quality is queen. So every piece of content you can put out there that's quality, you're going to be doing your business a world of good. But I can attest to this because I took that exact approach with my programming blog where I teach the Java programming language. I focused on releasing free stuff, free blog articles that was as highest as quality as I could make it in terms of teaching, and I just put it out there for free. Mm-hmm. And now, after whatever, it's just been over 2 years. I know 2 years is a long time, but it's not if you think about building a business and building a life for yourself and building a passive stream of income. 2 years of work is not that much time in one's entire life. In any case, I've built up this blog now where 83% of my traffic, I just looked it up now, 83% of my traffic comes from organic Google searches, which means someone typing in some phrase into Google, they then see my page ranking and they click on it and read my article and potentially become a customer. 83% of my traffic comes from those people.
I'm willing to bet.
I would say 10% comes from direct visitors, so people just typing in my website directly. So over 93% of my traffic comes from Google organic searches and just people knowing about me and typing it in. That's a massive, massive portion of my traffic, and I'm receiving, lately about 40,000 unique visitors per month to my website. 40,000 unique people every month. So I just wanted to put that in there.
And I think too, something that we should probably talk about is when you say 83% of that traffic, I'm willing to bet that a lot of those are internal pages or articles, tutorials that you've done. It's not the main page of your site.
Yeah,
is it?
For sure. No, the number one. Yeah, there's my number one hits for page or for pages hit. Is an article, actually one of my first articles that I've ever written, and that one got featured on lifehacker.com, which is kind of cool. So that one's definitely the number one. And then number two is an article I wrote about Hibernate, which is something in Java. Don't want to talk about that now. And then probably number three is just my homepage. So
sure. So I mean, just so everyone's listening and saying, well, wait, aren't you telling me to put out content and not focus on getting, just rankings? But what's happening is you're putting out great content. A lot of people are linking to it, using it as references, bookmarking it, sharing it socially. And because it's great content, it's naturally doing what Google wants it to do. Exactly. And that's why it's raising to the top. Focus on putting out great content. And real quick, we'll go into once you have this good content, how you actually gain traction if no one is looking at your site. And one of my favorite things to do is repurpose the content.
Cool.
And I'm going to talk a little bit about that. So let's use an example let's go back to being a dog groomer. All right. And let's say you're putting together a guide on, I don't know, give me something about dogs, Trevor.
You're putting together a guide on how to, put a bow in the dog's hair or something like that in a special way.
Okay. Let's talk about dog bows. Oh gosh, I can't believe that's where your mind went. Dog bows.
Whatever.
So, you're going to put together this amazing, maybe it's 1,000 words, just describing different type of dog bows, how to put it in the dog's hair. This is so weird. Whatever. you publish this thing on your blog. What happens next? So there's a few different things you can do to utilize the traffic that other platforms see. And I'll kind of walk you through the system that I use. The first thing you can do is take that article and break it up and put it on a slideshow. There's tons of slide sharing websites out there, and you can go upload the slideshow and link back to your company, brand the slide, everything else. And people who are searching dog bows or things about dogs will come across it and naturally wander across your site. Just like slide sharing sites, there's also PDF doc sharing sites. So you can save it as a PDF and doc and upload it to those sites. Again, people's browsing those sites looking for things related to dogs will come across it and hopefully come to your site. The next thing you can do is you can bookmark your actual blog. So, Google social bookmarking and you'll find tons of different sites. And these are your StumbleUpons, your Reddits, your Dig, Delicious, those types of things. And you can actually bookmark your blog so that when people are looking for things on those platforms related to dogs, your blog post comes up. Infographics are awesome right now. They're a little bit more expensive, but you can easily hire someone on Odesk or Elance to put together a nice $25 to $50 infographic that kind of summarizes your article. And again, just like with the SlideShare and everything else, there's tons of different sites that host infographics, and you're linking back to your blog and really just exposing your brand to your target customer base. The other thing you can do is you can take that slideshow that you've created and you can basically add some tunes or just do a voiceover and create a video. There's a lot of different video sharing sites aside from YouTube. Upload it to YouTube. In the description, you can put your link. Of course, you can brand the slides, make sure everyone knows, hey, this is from dog grooming, we love bows.com. And just make sure that that's uploaded. And again, you're exposing your brand and more people are going to come across it and come back to your site. So there's a lot of different ways that you can get one piece of content out there. And so, a lot of people think, oh man, I'm going to have to release new content every other day, blah, blah, blah. And then they're like, why isn't this working? Why aren't more people discovering it? You don't have to do that. 20% of the effort should be on creating it. 80% should be on distributing it. So get it out there on the different mediums and you'll be fine.
Yeah. Now that's one approach that I've taken as well that I've found has been very beneficial for myself. I realize we're kind of getting outside of the realm of SEO, but I don't know if I think this is very, very valuable information because the goal of SEO is to get traffic. And although we're not exactly performing SEO tactics here, we're getting the traffic. So really, we are performing SEO. We're just, sort of doing it in a sidestepping type manner. But this is exactly what I do with my content. I create, so typically my workflow when I create any new content for my programming blog is I think of a topic and I write the blog post. But I write the blog post knowing that I'm going to be talking about this as a podcast episode. And I write the blog post knowing that I'm also going to be converting this into a PDF document and selling it as an ebook as well. And I record it or type it out knowing that I might also make a video that will go along with this to be able to put onto YouTube. Okay? Now, some people go right to video first on YouTube and then pull out the audio, turn that into a podcast, and then get someone to write the transcript for it. But I'm that's just not the way I like to go. I don't like to pay someone, to do transcripts, at least not yet. But that's the process that I followed, and it's an amazing way to repurpose content. That was how I wrote my last book, the book on MySQL, which went to the #1 bestseller that we talked about in the last episode. That was just a bunch of blog posts that turned into podcasts that turned into an ebook, which hit #1 bestseller. That's all it was. So it's incredible.
And so I mean, you brought up a good point where we entered the conversation with SEO, and this isn't like hard SEO tactics, but again, we're trying to tell you basically in the 80/20 type way what you can do to get the best results. And we could talk about all these different SEO tactics, what's working latest. But why I'm telling you about this versus those things is because, you hear every time Google does an update, Twitter goes crazy. Oh, did you see the new Panda Penguin update? This got hit. This is safe. This is what's happening. And you can work a ton and get your rankings up based on some SEO tactic that's working right there and have it wiped out overnight. And that's why you do stuff like this with the strong content distribution. You're doing SEO in a sense that Google likes. You're adding value to the world in what you're putting out there. I don't know if it's necessarily value with dog bows, but it's nonetheless value. But that does transition into what I want to talk about next, Trevor.
Yep.
If you're good to roll for that. And let's start talking more about the don'ts, the things to stay away.
Yeah, good call.
And we'll get more into SEO juicy type tactics. The first thing, and this used to be very, very popular up until actually pretty recently, is syndicating your blog post. So a lot of times people would basically take their blog post and upload it to a bunch of different sites and create articles all over. Is that something you do?
I've never done that before, no. Like take the exact same article that you wrote and post it everywhere else? Oh, yeah, for sure, no.
It. Yeah, and RSS feeds, all this other stuff. But basically, do not do this. And the reason why is because when you do that, it's showing up now for Google as duplicate content. And sites that have really used syndication as a way to not only generate backlinks, but just get their brand out there more, they've seen a huge hit recently just because of this. In fact, one of the best in the business as far as SEO goes, Neil Patel released a really cool he basically put together an experiment guide or something, I don't know, showcasing his traffic and how much they lost with, I forget which update it was, but the update that basically targeted syndication. So a solution to that, if you are interested in basically getting your blog post out there on other blog sites, or you're doing a guest post and you want to do basically the same topic you just wrote about, I recommend taking that blog post and basically just rewording it entirely. Go through, create different summaries and paragraphs, switch up a lot of different words, and then put it out there. And that way, your site won't get dinged as far as having duplicate content, which is what Google sees as spam.
So you're really talking about just with switching out words and what you're just looking for synonyms of words, or
synonyms or
different ways to say the same thing. And
exactly, just make sure it's not duplicate content. Just don't copy and paste the article over.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why when you're talking about putting the same content in different places, like we talked about as a white hat technique, we're not saying take your blog post and then take the entire thing and copy paste it into slides. So you're still having to repurpose the content in such a way that you still need to use your brain as a human being and take that article and summarize it into point form, and then take that and change it into a video, and then so we're not talking about copy pasting it as a white hat technique, just in case you get confused there. We're talking about as a black hat technique, just plain old copy paste and putting it out in other places. That's just a huge no. So
yeah, and so I mean that's as far as that goes. Some other big no-nos, and I'm going basically on what I feel like I received the most questions about from people.
Okay.
Fiverr links. Let's talk about those.
Oh, yes.
Everybody loves the $5 Fiverr links.
$5 for 10,000 links across the internet.
Please, in God's name, do not buy those. They used to work. They used to work for different strategies, and I'm sure I'll hear from fellow SEOers are like, why did you tell people that? That's wrong. But unless you really know what you're doing, and this gets more into the gray black hat area, do not use Fiverr links, just because lots of times it is low quality spam and just low quality links that Google has brought the hammer down on. The most recent update actually just crushed sites that were using these types of links. One of my clients had some SEO that was done a while ago before we took him under our wing, and he had a lot of these type of links pointed towards his site. And before the newest update, it didn't really affect it. Of course, we didn't build any of these type links, but we knew they were there. And as soon as this update came through and I started, hearing what it was targeting, looked at all of our SERP rankings for all of our clients, and his site was the one that fell from, he was ranked in the #1 spot for his local area, and it fell to like page 8. So just to give you an idea of what those type of links can do.
Yeah, and for those who are curious, anything after page 1 in Google, you're pretty much, it doesn't matter. You're pretty much not going to be receiving any traffic. Really, I think the majority of the search engine juice that you're going to get, the actual traffic that comes in, is really if you're ranking in the first, 4 spots in Google?
Yeah, it's basically the first 4, and there's some really cool click-through chart curvatures that you can look up if that interests you.
So just something to think about. Yeah. Obviously, the closer you can get to #1, the better. But after you hit less than #4, it's really going to be negligible, the traffic you're going to receive. So just something to think about.
Let's talk about another no-no that I see a lot of people doing, and that's keyword stuffing. So let's say you, again, going back to our dog groomer, and you just rolled out beautiful bows for your dogs, since we're on that subject, and you are trying to rank in Google for dog bows. Do not write an article and mention dog bows 50 times or even 10 times. Maybe mention it twice. And again, create articles that are more broad topic around whatever keyword that you're trying to rank. So a lot of times I'll come across a site and they say their keyword like 3 times in the title of the post, and then you're just like, oh my gosh, what is going on here? So really, you just want to have that broad stroke type of strategy when you are crafting any type of content or just building your pages on your site.
Now, what about so you say don't use the same keyword, and when we say keyword, it's really like a phrase that you're targeting. Really, it could be a phrase or a set of words together. Like dog bow is 2 words, but that would be considered your keyword that you're targeting, right? Yeah. So just that was something that confused me at the beginning. Like I was like, they keep saying keyword, but to me, keyword means 1 word, but really it means whatever term it is that you're targeting. In any case, so you say don't repeat your keywords. So we're talking about dog bows, so don't say dog bows more than 3 times. But what if you said dog bows and, I don't know, canine bows, and then, canine head decorations? Or, would that be okay to sort of refer to it in 3 different ways?
Yeah, you can't... Put it this way, Trevor, just write an article naturally.
Exactly.
Write it naturally, like you aren't trying to manipulate rankings. Just go out there and add value. And you might look at your article and be like, well, no, I used it 4 times. Like none of this is scientific. Like it's
rule of thumb.
I refer to it more as an art. You just go out there and do stuff and try to provide value, and it'll work out for you.
Yeah, write for human beings, not for search engines.
Yeah, what are some other no-nos that you've heard of, Trevor? What are some questions? Maybe that would work better, because I have everything like mapped out in my head, and I'm like, oh, this is obvious, but I feel like you could provide some better.
Yeah, so I mean, let's see. I used to think that, here's one. So I want to get links to my site. I want to get backlinks. I want to have as many links from external sites pointing back to my site. And I think there might be a good way I can do it. I can go into different blogs and write a bunch of comments and put my link into every single one of those comments. And then maybe I'm going to hire people to go out and because I want to leverage this technique and have them comment on a bunch of blogs with links pointing back to my site. Is that a good idea?
Nah, I don't. If you're doing that, I'm going to shoot you figuratively after the show. No, that is not a good idea. It's definitely a good idea to interact on blogs and forums and that sort of thing. And some of the forums and even blogs will allow you to link to your site in your signature. Completely fine. One of my roommates, one of his biggest traffic sources was he was the first commenter on a blog that just went viral. And so, forever he's sitting at the top with a link to his homepage. That's fantastic. But I mean, you see it all the time, and there's software out there that does this. Again, this is a black hat technique where you're reading blog posts and stuff, and you're looking in the comments, and everything makes sense, and then you see that one person like make $372 in 3 hours. This link now. I'm a millionaire stay-at-home mom. And you're like, what in the hell? Like, who is this crazy nut, and why would they do that? And they're running programs most of the time to do that. So stay away from that. I would encourage you to interact on niche relevant blogs, add value to the conversation. It's appropriate if somebody has a question or the conversation is flowing and you've done a blog post or something around that topic to reference to it then, but don't. Yeah, the quickest way to get banned from a blog and a conversation is to be like, check out my website right here, or great deals on exactly what you're talking about right here. So yeah, stay away from that.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm sure there's lots of stuff that we could talk about in this episode, the do's and don'ts. But really, the truly universal rule is just to focus your energy on creating something that will make someone else say, wow, that's awesome. I want to tell my friend about this.
Yeah.
If you can achieve that, you don't even need to care about all the stuff that we're talking about. You could skip this whole episode if you just focus on that one technique. Just write something that people will want to talk about and share with their friends, and then you'll be laughing.
Yep. And that's totally it. As much energy and effort that I've spent on, learning and finding out and discussing all these little tactics that are working for the next 3 to 6 months, going back to exactly what you said, works better than any SEO strategy out there. So bravo to those who are doing it.
Exactly. Now, let's say you're doing just that. You're writing your articles, you're creating great content. I know that I know from firsthand experience, it takes a long time. It took me a year before I really started seeing any good kickbacks from all the work that I've been putting in. And a year's a long time. We are impatient people. Is there any way that you could go about making this process just a little bit faster? Is there any way to put this in the hands of an expert, an SEO expert, who could help you out? Do you know of any people like that who could help out our listeners to get them there just a little bit faster in ways that we know are safe?
Okay, well, thanks very much for baiting me into actually broadcasting my services there, Trevor.
Mm-hmm. That's a pro technique.
Yeah. Obviously, you can definitely reach out on my blog. I'm going to try to be more active in basically explaining tactics and just what's going on, especially in the SEO world. Neil Patel, again, I mentioned him earlier in the article. He is one of the best, and he's kind of, again, I'm switching a lot more from the SEO tactics to more like his strategy. Put out great content and distribute it in a very wide span format, and you're gonna get the results that are a lot better that any SEO could perform for you. As far as the Search Engine Journal is a really good way to stay up to date on just what's happening in the SEO world. Moz is another great resource, MOZ. They always are talking about what's happening, ideas and things to do, especially if this subject interests you and you find it fun, like I do. That's a great resource just to browse those forums as well as the articles that they have. But yeah, I mean, really gosh, I'm getting tongue-tied. Focus on the things that we talked about as far as creating the content and distributing. Okay, I can't talk. It's I got like my tongue's swelling up or something from talking too much this episode. Distributing, and you're gonna be fine. You're gonna rock it.
But also check out mcarterjohnson.com for all his juicy tips, tricks, and potentially even services, because I'm sure like I said, he's being modest, ladies and gentlemen. He knows so much about this stuff now, and he has helped out so many companies achieve their search engine goals to get up there and be ranked. So seriously, if you do have the extra, obviously, cash on hand, I realize this service does cost money, but it is the shortcut that you want to be looking for if you are looking for a shortcut. I totally make use of his services on the down low for just dirt cheap costs, but we'll see what we can do to extend some sort of a deal to you guys, our fellow coders, startup listeners. But yeah, he's being modest, so check him out. He knows his stuff, ladies and gentlemen.
Thanks, Trevor. And also I'll be sure to monitor the comments on this, and if there are any questions or anything that I can help people with. Just because I know, there's obviously tons of stuff that we didn't go over that people might have questions on. And if you post your questions and comments, we'll be sure to answer those to the best of our abilities. And that way everybody can kind of share in the knowledge.
Beautiful. So you can do that via coderstartup.com/7, which is the episode number that we are on, number 7. So thank you very much, Carter, for joining us today, for dumping all of the knowledge, for dropping the knowledge bombs, if you will. And for sure, we're going to look forward to probably more scatterbrained techniques and strategies in the future as we sort of drop them in to future episodes with respect to SEO. So yes,
totally.
Thank you so much.
Totally.
And for you guys out there listening, thank you for listening to this episode. And as always, I can't wait to get on and record the next episode in the series, which will obviously be number 8. And I truly mean that, because I was actually really looking forward to doing this show. We started recording this an hour early. That's how excited I was to jump into this one. So I look forward to doing the next one for you guys. Take care of yourselves. Check out the coderstartup.com website, and we will see you in the next show. Peace.